At the beginning of Homer's The Odyssey, he starts with an invocation to the Muses. He says, "Tell me, Muse, of the man of many ways, who has driven far journeys after he had sacked Troy's sacred citadel. From some point here, goddess, daughter of Zeus, speak, and begin our story." Homer's works, especially the Iliad and the Odyssey, are considered to be two epic poems that are the bedrock of ancient Greek literature. However, by his own volition, Homer seemingly offers just as much credit to this mysterious muse, daughter of Zeus. When I was first learning this, I often wondered why. As I pursued my own creative works, beginning writing and then eventually starting this channel, I uncovered the answer bit by bit. And I think Eizouken captures this answer pretty perfectly. It's not just Homer. You see invocations to the muses across many works, whether it's Catullus in Carmen, or Dante for his Divine Comedy. And that's because creativity is a fickle mistress. I would describe it as being a controlled madness, and indeed, Plato called this type of inspiration mania, or being caught up in a state transcending the individual consciousness. The muses bringing a disordered soul back into harmony, with art being created as the end result. Every fiber of Eizouken demonstrates this controlled madness. Many of the characters just can't help themselves, and their passion spills forth from them at every opportunity. They get lost in imaginative worlds of their own creation, whether that be Asakusa's big picture fantastical settings, or Mizusaki's love for body mechanics of minute detail. There are times where they almost seem possessed, closed off to the world around them, focused solely on capturing the idea that has burned itself into their minds, desperately trying to corral it onto the page. There's a scene that many malign for being unrealistic, or frankly, one that doesn't come off too well for our protagonist. Asakusa and the gang are requesting a desk from their teacher, one equipped with a light box to facilitate anime creation. Asakusa says, "I'll prove to you both that I'm no idiot," when Kanamori reminds her not to mention anything about anime production, seeing as the teacher disapproves. No one is surprised when a few moments later, the words, "You need them for making anime," escapes her lips. One might argue that this scene was wholly predictable, and I'm inclined to agree, but I absolutely loved it as a reflection of her character. It stands for the kind of irrationality and utter need to share what you're passionate about. Time and time again, her controlled madness becomes a little uncontrolled, and she can't help but let her passion for the art flow through her. You can see the many gears in her head turning constantly, whether that be considering the overall setting, or little mechanical intricacies, or elements of sound design. You get the impression that somehow a divine force has emboldened this girl with a power few get to experience. But like I said, creativity is a fickle mistress. After the success of the short film, the Eizouken land a lucrative contract from the Giant Robo Club. However, Asakusa has a kind of mini breakdown while working on the storyboards. She says, "Wait, is this really what we should go with? What if people criticize it?" For a person usually able to focus on the bigger picture, she gets bogged down in the details, and eventually tells the group, "Let's ditch the giant robot anime, guys." This little freakout is crushingly familiar to me, and I imagine for many of my contemporaries. It's incredibly easy to be flowing along, but suddenly get caught on a snag, and have you thrown off the river of creativity and into the whitewater rapids of self-doubt. As you probably noticed, I went on an unplanned hiatus a couple of months ago. And while there were several factors that were out of my control, I'm a little ashamed to say that it was largely self-imposed. I was working on a video on a topic I thought was a great one, but I was having trouble getting it just the way I wanted it. I set deadlines hoping it'd spur me on, but missing one after the other only served to drag me down further. Eventually, I just ended up with countless revisions and nothing to show for it. The way my mind worked, I couldn't just abandon this seemingly great idea for another one. I had to do it in order, whatever that meant. I could have used a Kanamori back then. She is the crucial final element that completes the Eizouken and makes it capable of functioning. She is a funnel that takes that madness and directs it forward. She is the compass that points Asakusa and Mizusaki to true north. It might seem counterintuitive to have someone completely uninterested in the subject matter that they're managing. Kanamori from the beginning tells them that she's just in it for the moolah, and has no knowledge of cells and keyframes and whatnot. But that this passion becomes her greatest strength. She's able to contrast against Asakusa and Mizusaki. Just when they're about to wildly float off into space, Kanamori, sometimes forcibly, is able to drag them back down to reality. She is kind of the embodiment of the phrase, "perfect is the enemy of good." For you could have all the creativity and passion in the world, it is useless with nothing to show for it. Kanamori learns as much from her uncle's failed convenience store, that earnestness doesn't mean success, and takes that lesson from her childhood forward. When Asakusa has her breakdown, Kanamori is the one to get her back on track. She tells her that her art is amazing, and that this project is only in trouble if you think it's in trouble. She empowers her, reminding Asakusa that she has the ability and backing to deliver an amazing final product, but only if she has the gall to do so. Kanamori displays the overwhelming benefit of having an outsider's perspective, being able to push the others along, but also having the prudence to know when things are good enough. On a meta level, she serves as a vehicle for Asakusa and Mizusaki to make the case for the two facets of animation they represent to an ignorant third party, and illuminate that distinction to us, the audience. Over time, we can even see her gain an increased appreciation for animation as well, as if attaining the information through osmosis. After all, if one is saturated in such a high-passion environment, you're bound to pick some things up eventually. And we continue to see more and more of Kanamori's practicality rub off as well. Asakusa only continues to come into her own and grow to be more confident as a director. When I watch Eizouken as a content creator, I see all of the ingredients for one to be successful. Asakusa is the primal drive to create, the imaginative force that causes ideas to spring forth uncontrollably. She is all things big picture, and the desire to increase your knowledge to a point where you feel qualified to comment. Mizusaki is the devil in the detail. She is a reminder that you have control over every little thing you decide to present. From your word choice to your editing, someone will notice, and it is up to you to decide whether or not to fully use that space. And finally, Kanamori might be the most important of all. She's the little voice reminding you that you just can't wait for lightning to strike with bottles at the ready to capture it. Sometimes you have to bring your own keys and kites and go looking for it. That means not watching the 100th extra YouTube video in procrastination. It means opening up a blank document and just typing anything. For all intents and purposes, they should be the muses for anyone pursuing a creative outlet. They have the passion and the knowledge, but most of all, the capability to bring those into reality. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more content. If you'd like to support me further, you can donate to my Patreon. Special thanks to TaluckyBG, A Target Finder Stuck, FisherGamer632, Boromir, Beat Red Ted, and the Mad Hatter for their support. And of course, if anything I said was wrong, I'm sorry. I must have stuttered.